Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and on this episode of King of the Hill, I want to talk about Matriarch of the Grannies. The Matriarch has a talent to reveal the bottom two cards of your deck. Any minions revealed are drawn, while all other cards are discarded. And since there are only two types of cards that can be in your deck, this means discarding actions. There is always the chance that there could be another card type, however unlikely, which the Grannies wouldn't know what to do with, but for now, with most factions having an even distribution of minions and actions, there is a 50-50 shot of a card being a minion. I have to admit, I'm ambivalent about the Grannies. I've seen them be strong in some cases, but I've also seen them be weak, and in all honesty, boring. If at any point I seem all over the place on my opinion of them, that's a sign of just how unsure I am about the Grannies. This will become more clear on Friday, and I had to do both of these videos at the same time to make sense of everything in my head. However, I don't necessarily think it's the Matriarch's fault. To contextualize the Matriarch's talent, consider that there are very few talents that draw a card. They usually have a condition or a prerequisite for doing so. Most minions that give extra card draws have a limitation of once per turn. Some aren't even useful in my opinion. Granted, there is only one copy of Matriarch, so the once per turn is largely unnecessary, and the Matriarch can draw up to 2 cards, which is unheard of for a talent. However, Matriarch can only draw minions. Actions are discarded. This, on paper, is very punishing, as your partner faction may have some powerful actions. However, cards are drawn from the bottom of your deck, and this is where I enter an odd paradox with Matriarch. The Grannies have no shuffling. Most factions do not. Any deck manipulation or recursion that they have is focused on placing on the top or bottom of the deck, and they don't have insane card draw. I've often mentioned that the bottom of the deck is purgatory, so if you discard powerful actions from the bottom, you probably weren't going to get to them anyway, since you have a long way to go to get there. If the Grannies are getting to the bottom of the deck unassisted, they are probably losing, because they lack stall tactics and extra power. So discarding those cards is actually okay, because you wouldn't have drawn them anyway over the course of the game. However, you actually can, because of Family Reunion. Minions are drawn from the bottom, just like Matriarch, but actions get flipped to the top. So you do have access to all those cards after all, as long as you have access to Family Reunion, which draws the minion that Matriarch would have drawn. And this is where Matriarch gets risky. The more successful you are with your talent, the less successful you will be later on, as you only have so many minions. But the opposite is also true. Present failure means better future success. However, Family Reunion can speed up the minion accrual, messing with the percentages again. In my experience, it's not an automatic use this talent every turn. It's not even automatic use when you know the bottom card because you reveal 2. In fact, I sometimes wish Matriarch said, reveal up to 2, meaning you can play more conservatively if you wanted to. But in her current form, there is real risk to using the ability and discarding powerful actions. The Grannies don't necessarily have those game-changing actions, but your partner might. There are a few cards that let you put cards on the top or bottom of your deck, where you have a choice. Conceptually, the Grannies want minions on the bottom and actions on the top, but there's an interesting phenomenon that occurs. Just because minions want to be on the bottom doesn't mean they should be on the bottom. What if you don't have Matriarch yet? You'd be banishing minions to the bottom with Matriarch and Family Reunion as the only way to retrieve them. Do this too often and you'll be minion starved, as they are your lifeblood. But every minion you put back on top is a minion that impedes your path to drawing Matriarch. So what do? The Grannies are a faction that I think change significantly depending on when you draw their queen. You have talent-based deck manipulation, but you also have one-shots. Sometimes you have a choice as to whether or not to put the minion on the bottom. Nana might force your hand. Sometimes I'm tempted to just not play Grannies until the Matriarch or her fallback option is in place, because you can in fact bottom deck yourself out of contention. The worst possible outcome is the card you bottom deck is Matriarch herself, which makes the Grannies a much slower spy faction. Of course, synergy can mitigate the damage. Matriarch is perfect for any faction that can put minions on the bottom of the deck. The Grannies can do this with attic treasures, putting cards in a specific order so that Matriarch can draw them back. Drawing 3 cards and effectively discarding one of them from your hand is decent. but other factions have ways of putting minions on the bottom of the deck. Disguised Penguin can put itself on the bottom of the deck to play another minion, hopefully triggering some of the penguin bonuses. If the top card you reveal is a minion, which the grannies should help you predict, you won't actually shuffle your deck, so Disguised Penguin will still be there as a free placeholder. It's also a great way to reclaim the minion banished by Dancing Penguin. The superheroes have a powerful recursion ability in Golden Age. Normally, these heroes will return so that they can be pulled by an MMC, then eventually shuffled towards the top, but Matriarch makes this unnecessary. This can mean drawing 2 superheroes in one turn, with a third to follow the next turn, or be played by Hush My Stories Are On. And since the first Mile-Matted Citizen can grab the Matriarch, you solve the problem of waiting for the grannies to start their engine. When you can consistently play 5s every turn, perhaps you don't need many of the actions that you would inadvertently discard, although Golden Age makes it difficult to hit an action on the bottom. One of the reasons why Alien Grannies were so strong is that you could disintegrate your own invaders and have 2 more ways of returning them effectively. In one of the successive matches after March Smashness finished, invaders scored 9 VP, which is insane. Chicken Soup can place them on the bottom for Matriarch to immediately draw and play one of them. Always Room at Grannies can stash them on the bottom of your deck if your opponent has no means of shuffling them. Matriarch is also one of the few times that I find Time Raider useful. The Time Travelers do have shuffling, but it's minimal, and most of these cards are never seen again. Time Raider can place the card that Matriarch draws, or restore the action that was inadvertently discarded to its rightful place. It's fair to ask what minions you are actually repeating with this, as only the upper minions make sense for the faction combination, but guaranteed minion presence is a good thing. Matriarch is also a decent way to unbury Time Walk, so that it can be played with It's Astounding or put on top of your deck with Repeater Perfect. If the odds are 50-50, we can make them better by pairing the grannies with robots. The robots have 18 minions and only 2 actions, and if Matriarch is out, maybe those 2 tech centers aren't necessary. You can only have so many cards in your hand anyway. If you do discard an action with this pairing, it would be a granny action, and outside of a few key cards, most of them are throwaway in this pairing. When my group and I talk about Matriarch, we see the potential, but we also see the faction's connective tissue. Without her, the engine can backfire, and the grannies can't survive that because they lack power. What has worked best for us is to identify 3 to 4 actions that you do not want to risk losing. Once you've drawn those, or learned to live without them, then it's clear to use the Matriarch's talent in the absence of certainty. Otherwise, you could end up with a negative net gain by using her talent, and even though Matriarch can net you 2 cards, it takes a number of cards to make her reliable. So my final takeaway from Matriarch is this: situationally strong, and not an automatic play. But what do you think of Matriarch? Let me know in the comments. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.